Talking in English is something many people want to do. It helps with jobs, studies, and making new friends. But learning how to speak English well can feel hard. For some, it feels like a mountain they cannot climb. However, with the right practice and a few simple tips, anyone can learn to talk in English. It just takes time, patience, and practice. Let me start with a story. There was a man named Ravi. He grew up in a small village where very few people spoke English. His parents were farmers, and they only spoke their native language at home. When Ravi went to school, he was shy to talk in English because he was afraid of making mistakes. Every time the teacher asked him to say something in English, his heart would beat fast. He thought everyone would laugh at him if he made a mistake. But one day something changed. His teacher said, "Ravi, it is okay to make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes when they are learning something new." These words stuck in Ravi's mind. From that day on, he decided to try his best, even if he made mistakes. And slowly, he started to get better. This story is not just about Ravi. It is about everyone who wants to learn English. The first step to speaking English is not to be afraid of mistakes. If you make a mistake, it means you are learning. Everyone, even the best English speakers, makes mistakes. So, never let the fear of mistakes stop you from trying. Another important thing to remember is that practice makes perfect. You cannot just learn English by reading books. You have to speak it. Try to talk in English every day, even if it is just a little. You can talk to yourself, practice with a friend, or even speak to your pet in English. The more you use English, the better you will become. If you are afraid to speak with others, you can start small. Begin by speaking a few simple sentences. You don't need to use big words or complicated grammar. Start with what you know. For example, you can say, "I like apples," or "I am going to the market." These simple sentences help you get comfortable with speaking. When you are ready to speak with others, find someone who is patient and kind. Maybe a friend, teacher, or even a neighbor. Tell them that you are learning English and that you need help. Many people will be happy to help you practice. The more you talk, the more confident you will feel. Listening is also very important when learning English. You cannot speak well if you do not listen well. Try to listen to English songs, watch English movies, or listen to English news. When you hear new words, write them down and practice saying them. This will help you understand how words are used in real conversations. There was a woman named Priya who loved watching English movies. She did not understand everything at first, but she did not give up. She kept watching, and slowly, she started to understand more and more. She would pause the movie, repeat the words, and try to say them in the same way the actors did. This helped her improve her speaking skills a lot. If you want to improve your English, try to learn a few new words every day. You do not need to learn many words at once. Even learning 5 new words each day can make a big difference. Write down the words, practice their meaning, and try to use them in sentences. Over time, your vocabulary will grow, and you will find it easier to express yourself in English. Do not forget to practice your pronunciation too. Sometimes people may understand the words you are saying, but if you pronounce them wrong, they may not know what you mean. There are many ways to improve your pronunciation. One way is to use a mirror. Stand in front of the mirror and say the words out loud. Watch how your mouth moves. Try to copy the way native English speakers say the words. Another way to improve your pronunciation is to record yourself speaking. When you listen to the recording, you can hear where you need to improve. It might feel strange at first, but it is a good way to catch mistakes. You will be able to hear which words you say well and which words you need to practice more. If you are learning English, it is also a good idea to read out loud. When you read out loud, you practice saying the words and forming sentences. It helps you get used to the rhythm of the language. You can read anything in English: a book, a newspaper, or even a menu. Just pick something that you enjoy and practice reading it out loud. Another common issue when learning to speak English is feeling like you do not have enough time. Life can be busy, and it may feel like there is no time to practice. But you do not need to spend hours each day practicing English. Even 10 or 15 minutes of practice each day can make a big difference. You can practice while walking to the bus stop, cooking dinner, or even while brushing your teeth. The key is to make it a habit. Also, do not try to learn everything at once. It is easy to feel overwhelmed when learning a new language. Take it step by step. Focus on one thing at a time. For example, one day you can focus on learning new words. Another day you can focus on pronunciation. Break your learning into small, easy parts, and it will not feel as difficult. Remember to have fun while learning English. If you enjoy the process, you will learn faster. You can play games in English, listen to your favorite English songs, or watch a funny English TV show. When learning is fun, it feels less like work. Let's talk about something important: confidence. Many people do not speak in English because they feel shy or embarrassed. They think their English is not good enough. But here is the truth: you do not need to be perfect to speak English. You just need to try. Every time you speak, you will get better. Confidence comes from practice, not from being perfect. Let me tell you about my friend Sita. She was always scared to speak in English because she thought people would laugh at her. But one day, she decided to try. She went to a market and asked the shopkeeper for help in English. The shopkeeper understood her, even though her English was not perfect. That small success made her feel more confident. After that, she started speaking English more often, and with time, her confidence grew. The key to learning how to speak in English is to be patient with yourself. Learning a language is a journey, not a race. Sometimes you will feel like you are not improving. That is normal. Do not give up. Keep practicing, and you will see results over time. If you ever feel frustrated, remember that everyone learns at their own pace. Some people learn quickly, while others take more time. That is okay. What matters is that you are trying, and every little bit of practice helps. Let's talk about grammar. Many people worry about using the right grammar when they speak English. While grammar is important, do not let it stop you from speaking. You can still communicate even if your grammar is not perfect. Focus on making yourself understood. If you make a grammar mistake, most people will still understand what you are trying to say. For example, you might say, "She go to school yesterday" instead of "She went to school yesterday." Yes, the grammar is wrong, but the meaning is clear. Over time, you can work on improving your grammar, but do not let it stop you from speaking. To help with grammar, try to learn common phrases and sentences. This way, you will not have to think too much about grammar when you speak. You can just use the phrases you have learned. For example, instead of thinking about how to say, "What is your name?" you can just remember the phrase and say it. Another good way to improve your speaking skills is to join a group or class where people practice English together. When you practice with others, you learn faster because you hear different ways of saying things. Plus, you get used to having conversations in English, which helps a lot. If you do not have a group to practice with, you can find people online. There are many websites and apps where people from all over the world practice speaking English together. You can talk to people from different countries and learn from each other. One important thing to remember is that English has many accents and ways of speaking. For example, British English is different from American English. Both are correct, but they sound a little different. So, do not worry if your English sounds different from someone else's. The important thing is that people can understand you. Another way to improve your speaking is by learning how to ask questions in English. Asking questions is a big part of any conversation. It helps you keep the conversation going and shows that you are interested in what the other person is saying. Some simple questions you can ask are, "What do you think?" or "Can you explain that?" Asking questions also helps you practice speaking more. When you learn a new language like English, you also learn about different cultures. Many English speakers come from different countries, like the USA, UK, Canada, Australia, and others. So, when you speak English, you can connect with people from all over the world. This makes learning English even more fun and exciting. Speaking of fun, don't be afraid to laugh at your mistakes. Sometimes you might say something funny by accident, and that is okay. Everyone has done it. When you laugh at your mistakes, it makes learning more enjoyable, and you won't feel so bad about getting things wrong. One final tip is to stay curious. The more curious you are, the more you will want to learn. Ask questions, explore new words, and always look for opportunities to practice. When you are curious, learning becomes an adventure, not just a task. In conclusion, learning to talk in English may seem hard at first, but with patience, practice, and a positive attitude, anyone can do it. Just remember to take small steps, practice every day, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. Speak with confidence, listen carefully, and keep learning new words and phrases. Over time, you will see great progress, and one day you will be able to speak English fluently. As we continue on this journey of learning how to talk in English, let's focus on one very important part: staying consistent. One of the biggest challenges people face when learning any new language is losing motivation after some time. Maybe you feel excited at first, but after a few weeks or months, it becomes harder to stay on track. This is normal, and it happens to everyone. But the key to success is to keep going, even when it feels hard. Imagine a plant. When you plant a seed, it doesn't grow into a big tree overnight. It needs water, sunlight, and time to grow. Your English speaking skills are like that plant. You need to take care of them every day, little by little. Some days it might feel like you're not making any progress, but if you keep practicing, you'll see that your skills are growing slowly but surely. One way to stay consistent is to set small goals for yourself. For example, you can set a goal to learn 5 new words each week. Or, you can set a goal to speak in English for 10 minutes every day. These small goals will keep you focused and give you a sense of achievement as you reach them. Let me tell you about my friend Ahmed. He was always busy with work and family, and he didn't have much time to practice English. But he set a simple goal to learn 1 new word every day. It didn't take much time, and it was easy to do. After a year, he had learned over 300 new words. Ahmed showed that even small efforts can lead to big results over time. Another thing that can help you stay motivated is to track your progress. Keep a journal where you write down the new words you learn or the conversations you've had in English. When you look back at how far you've come, it will give you the energy to keep going. You'll realize that even if it feels slow, you're improving day by day. One of the reasons people lose motivation is because they compare themselves to others. Maybe you see someone who speaks English fluently, and you feel like you'll never be as good as them. But remember, everyone has their own journey. That person might have been practicing English for years, while you're just starting out. Don't compare your progress with someone else's. Focus on your own path and celebrate the small victories you achieve along the way. There's another helpful tool you can use: technology. Today, there are so many apps and websites that can help you practice speaking English. You can find apps that help you with pronunciation, grammar, or vocabulary. Some apps even let you talk to native English speakers from around the world. These tools can make learning English more fun and interactive. For example, there is an app where you can read stories in English, and it will highlight the words you don't know. You can click on the words to learn their meaning and hear how they're pronounced. It's a fun way to improve your reading and speaking skills at the same time. Let's also talk about another common problem: understanding different accents. English is spoken in many countries, and people from different places have different accents. Sometimes it can be hard to understand someone because of their accent. But this is not something to worry about. The more you listen to different people speak English, the easier it will become to understand them. When you watch movies or listen to music in English, try to pay attention to the accents. You might notice that British English sounds a bit different from American English, or that someone from Australia speaks English in a different way than someone from Canada. This is all part of the learning process, and over time, you'll get used to these differences. If you're struggling to understand someone's accent, don't be afraid to ask them to repeat themselves or speak more slowly. Most people will be happy to help you. And remember, the goal is communication. As long as you can understand each other, that's what matters most. One of the best ways to get better at speaking English is to immerse yourself in the language. This means surrounding yourself with English as much as possible. If you live in a country where English is not the main language, this might seem difficult, but there are still ways to do it. For example, you can change the language settings on your phone or computer to English. This way you'll see English words every time you use them. You can also listen to English podcasts while you're cooking or walking, or read English books and articles online. The more you surround yourself with English, the more natural it will feel to speak it. Another great idea is to find a language partner. This is someone you can practice speaking English with regularly. You can find language partners online or in your local community. The key is to have regular conversations with them, even if they're short. These conversations will help you get comfortable with speaking and improve your confidence. If you feel shy or nervous about speaking with others, start by practicing in front of a mirror. Look at yourself as you speak and imagine you're having a conversation with someone else. This will help you feel more comfortable with the words and give you confidence when it's time to speak with real people. Let's talk about something else that's very important when learning English: patience. Learning a new language takes time, and it's important to be patient with yourself. There will be days when you feel like you're not improving, or you might make the same mistakes again and again. That's okay. Remember that every mistake is a learning opportunity. The more mistakes you make, the more you will learn. I once knew a man named John who was learning to play the guitar. At first, he struggled to play even the simplest songs. His fingers hurt, and he kept making mistakes. But John didn't give up. He practiced every day, and slowly he got better. After a few months, he could play songs that he never thought he could. Learning English is just like learning an instrument. It takes practice, and you will get better with time. Another tip is to stay positive. When you're learning a new language, it's easy to focus on the things you can't do yet. But it's important to remember how much you've already achieved. Celebrate the small wins. Maybe you had your first conversation in English without feeling nervous, or maybe you understood a joke in an English movie. These are all signs that you're making progress. There's also something important to remember: it's okay to take breaks. If you're feeling tired or frustrated, it's okay to take a step back and rest. Learning a new language can be challenging, and sometimes your brain needs a break. When you come back to your practice, you'll feel refreshed and ready to continue. As we wrap up this long conversation, I want to remind you that learning to speak English is a journey. It's not something that happens overnight, but it's something that you can achieve with dedication and effort. Take it one step at a time. Be kind to yourself, and keep practicing. You've already taken the first step by deciding to improve your English. That's something to be proud of. And remember, every time you speak in English, you're getting better, even if it doesn't feel like it right away. So, go ahead and start speaking. Speak to your friends, to your family, to strangers, and even to yourself. The more you speak, the more confident you'll become, and before you know it, you'll be speaking English with ease. As you continue to improve your English, I want to share a few more tips that can help you along the way. These are small habits and strategies that, when practiced regularly, will make your progress even faster and smoother. The beauty of learning a language is that there are so many different ways to do it, and everyone can find what works best for them. Let's explore some of these strategies that can help you become even more confident in speaking English. One of the best things you can do to improve your speaking is to think in English. This might sound difficult at first, but it's a powerful technique. Usually, when people are learning a new language, they think in their native language and then try to translate their thoughts into English. But this can make speaking slower and more complicated. Instead, if you train your brain to think in English, you'll find it easier to speak quickly and naturally. At first, you can start with simple thoughts. For example, when you wake up in the morning, you can think, "I'm going to make breakfast," or "Today is a sunny day." These are simple sentences, but they help your brain get used to thinking in English. As you get more comfortable, you can try thinking about more complex ideas in English. You don't have to be perfect. The goal is to make English a natural part of your thinking process. I remember meeting a man named Carlos who wanted to speak English fluently. He told me that one of the biggest changes he made in his learning process was to start thinking in English. At first it felt strange to him, but with time it became easier. He said that it helped him speak faster and with more confidence because he no longer had to translate everything in his head. He could just say what he was thinking in English. Another great way to practice speaking is to describe what you're doing throughout the day. This is a fun and easy way to get more comfortable with speaking, even if you don't have anyone to talk to. For example, when you're cooking, you can say out loud, "I'm chopping the vegetables," or "I'm boiling water." When you're getting dressed, you can say, "I'm putting on my shoes," or "I'm choosing a red shirt." By describing your actions, you'll get used to speaking without worrying about complicated grammar or vocabulary. If you want to take this a step further, you can start narrating your day like a story. Pretend that you're telling someone what you're doing, even if no one is around. For example, "This morning I woke up at 7 o'clock. I had a big breakfast with eggs and toast, and now I'm getting ready to go to work." This practice will help you become more fluent and comfortable with speaking. Now, let's talk about one of the most important tools you have when learning to speak English: your ears. Listening is just as important as speaking, and the more you listen, the better your speaking will become. When you listen to others speak English, you learn how the language sounds, how sentences are structured, and how words are pronounced. Listening also helps you pick up the rhythm and flow of the language, which is something that can be hard to learn from books. There are many ways to improve your listening skills. You can listen to English podcasts, watch TV shows and movies, or even listen to audiobooks. The great thing about listening to English content is that you can do it anywhere and anytime while you're commuting, cooking, or exercising. And the more you expose yourself to the language, the more natural it will feel when you speak it. If you want to challenge yourself, try listening to English without subtitles or transcripts. At first, it might be difficult to understand everything, but don't worry. Even if you only understand a little, your brain is still getting used to the sounds and patterns of English. Over time, you'll start to understand more and more. You can also practice by listening to a short part of a podcast or movie and repeating what you hear. This helps with pronunciation and fluency. A good strategy is to find English content that interests you. If you like cooking, watch cooking shows in English. If you enjoy sports, listen to sports commentary in English. When you're interested in the topic, you'll pay more attention and enjoy the process of learning. Let's not forget about reading. Reading in English is another excellent way to improve your speaking skills. When you read, you see how words are used in sentences, how grammar works, and you learn new vocabulary. But more importantly, reading helps you understand the language in context. This means you can see how words and phrases are used in real situations, which will help you when you're speaking. You don't have to read difficult books or long articles. Start with something simple, like children's books or short stories. As you get more comfortable, you can try reading newspapers, blogs, or novels. The key is to read something that you enjoy so that it doesn't feel like a chore. If you come across a new word while reading, don't just skip over it. Write it down, look it up, and try to use it in a sentence. This will help you remember the word and understand how to use it when speaking. One of the best ways to improve your vocabulary is to see new words in context, which means seeing them used in sentences. You might also want to try reading out loud. This is a great way to practice your pronunciation and fluency. When you read out loud, you're training your mouth and brain to work together. You'll also get more comfortable with saying English words and phrases, which will help you when you're having real conversations. Another useful technique is shadowing. Shadowing is when you listen to someone speaking in English and try to repeat what they say as quickly as you can. You don't need to worry about understanding every word. The goal is to practice speaking at a natural speed and to mimic the rhythm and intonation of native speakers. Shadowing can be challenging at first, but it's a great way to improve your fluency and speaking confidence. For example, you can listen to a podcast or watch a video and repeat what the speaker says, trying to match their tone and speed. This helps your brain and mouth get used to the flow of the language, making it easier for you to speak more naturally. One more tip is to focus on phrases rather than individual words. When you're learning English, it's important to know individual words, but it's even more useful to learn common phrases and expressions. When you learn phrases, you don't have to think about each word separately when you're speaking. You can just use the whole phrase, which makes speaking faster and more natural. For example, instead of learning the word happy, you can learn the phrase "I'm happy today" or "I'm feeling happy." This way, you'll have a ready-made sentence that you can use in conversation without having to think about how to put the words together. Another reason to focus on phrases is that English has many expressions that don't translate directly into other languages. These are called idioms or fixed phrases. For example, "It's raining cats and dogs" means that it's raining very heavily. If you learn this phrase, you can use it in conversation, even if you don't understand why the words cats and dogs are used. Learning common expressions like this will make your English sound more natural. Finally, let's talk about the importance of persistence. Learning to speak English well doesn't happen in a day, or even in a month. It's a long-term process that requires dedication and patience. There will be times when you feel frustrated or stuck, and that's completely normal. What's important is to keep going, even when it feels difficult. I once knew a woman named Maria who was learning English while working full-time and taking care of her family. She didn't have much free time, but she made it a habit to practice for just 10 minutes every day. Sometimes she practiced in the morning before work, and sometimes she practiced at night after her children went to bed. It wasn't easy, but she stayed consistent. After a year of daily practice, Maria's English had improved so much that she could have conversations with her coworkers in English without feeling nervous. Maria's story shows that even if you don't have a lot of time, you can still make progress by practicing a little bit every day. The key is to be consistent. Over time, all those small practice sessions add up, and you'll be amazed at how much you've improved. If you ever feel like giving up, remember why you started learning English in the first place. Maybe it's to get a better job, travel to new places, or connect with people from different cultures. Whatever your reason is, keep it in mind and let it motivate you to keep going. And remember, you don't have to do it alone. There are many people around the world who are also learning English, and you can learn from and support each other. Join online communities, take part in language exchange programs, or find a group in your local area where people practice English together. When you have others to share your journey with, it becomes more enjoyable and less lonely. In conclusion, learning how to talk in English is a journey that requires patience, practice, and persistence. By thinking in English, surrounding yourself with the language, listening carefully, reading, and speaking every day, you'll slowly build the skills you need to speak fluently and confidently. Celebrate your progress, no matter how small, and keep moving forward. With time and effort, you'll reach your goal, and speaking English will become as natural as speaking your native language. So, keep practicing, stay curious, and most importantly, enjoy the process. You're on your way to becoming a confident English speaker, and every word you speak brings you closer to that goal.